Hello, everybody. This is Fiza Farhan here. It's a pleasure to talk to all of you today at this virtual TED Talk and share with you my professional journey, being a young woman who graduated from Warwick University and evolving to becoming an award-winning entrepreneur, followed by becoming the youngest advisor to the UN Secretary General, followed by that, becoming the youngest advisor to Chief Minister of Punjab, and now running my own development advisory firm that works on multiple development agendas around the world, including gender, climate change, SDGs, youth, and whatnot. So let's go back and let's talk about how this young girl evolved to becoming Pakistan's youngest and one of the most successful entrepreneurs and the CEO of two companies, to becoming the youngest advisor to UN Secretary General's high-level panel with global dignitaries, to becoming the youngest advisor to Chief Minister of Punjab, to even till date being the youngest board member on the board of the Diamond Basha Dam project, and so many more things, so many more tables. I think the baseline of all of this has been the belief that I will be sharing with you guys, with the topic and the theme of today's TED Talk being checkmate. So with every journey and with every phase of my life, how I conquered the phase, how I broke that glass ceiling was one checkmate. And I'm very happy to dress accordingly as well for this virtual TED Talk to follow the theme. So the journey starts off of myself graduating from Warwick Business School and coming to Pakistan and setting up two companies of my own as my first job. So believe it or not, being a young woman from Pakistan, my first job was to become the CEO of two companies in a very, very male-dominated sector of energy, renewable energy, and financial inclusion. So the first checkmate I did was to break the stereotype that young girls cannot be CEOs, young girls cannot be leaders. Young girls cannot nurture their dreams and start a career by being a leader and by starting from the very top. And that I did by launching my two companies, Baksh Foundation and Baksh Energy, which were based on absolute self-belief that I want to establish two companies that challenge the problems, the development challenges this country has, and promises to provide solutions. So back in those days, this is back in 2007, the development problems and the development challenges Pakistan had, the two prime ones that came at the top were access to energy and women's economic empowerment. And I just realized, okay, great, I'm going to set up companies that are going to provide solutions for these two problems. And everybody, I must tell you, and I must share this because I think this is how the checkmate philosophy works, was suggesting that I'm going against the tide. I'm doing something that has not been done in Pakistan. I'm venturing into areas that are unheard of. I'm venturing into sectors that are unheard of. You know, I'm deemed to failure. But it is this burning desire that you have that if there's something that nobody has done, then maybe that is the thing you want to do. And maybe that is the thing that needs to be done. So whenever I would launch a new project or whenever I would launch a new initiative or an idea, everybody, even in my team, would come to me and say that, ma'am, this has never been done before. Nobody has done this before. How will we do it? And my answer always to them used to be that we will do it because nobody has done this before. You know, we will do it because it's a virgin market out there and we will create something new. So that's how the journey happened. And today I sit on different boards, being an expert on energy and being an expert on women's economic empowerment. Believe it or not, I was not an expert in either of the fields. I just wanted to create solutions to those problems. I just wanted to tackle those problems and create a business model that works for all stakeholders involved. And it literally used to happen like this, that I would sit in my office and I would list down all the problems that a particular issue presents, right? For example, I'll give you an example of a project I launched. I don't know if many of you have heard about it or not, but because it became an international best practice later on. The project was called Lighting a Million Lives. Now, there was a major challenge of energy access in about 47% of Pakistan at the time. And there was a major problem of women's economic empowerment and economic livelihood opportunities. And I literally sat down listing all of these challenges in a row and then just started putting together solutions for all of them and created a model and brought them all together to create a model of going to untapped off-grid villages, setting up a business of a solar charging station, empowering a woman entrepreneur from the community to run that solar charging station and make income out of it while selling the product of energy. And this became my project called Lighting a Million Lives, whereas my light lady used to go around the village selling renewable energy, clean energy, so that at the end of the day, the entire village got access to energy, and my Roshna Bibi, or my light lady as I used to call her, became an economic agent, and not just an economic agent but an agent of change. So she became a mini Fiza Farhan in a far off rural village somewhere in the rural underprivileged communities of Pakistan. The project, which was initially thought of as something which was doomed to failure, after about 4 or 5 years of successful operations, became an international best practice, became an international case study, and got implemented in multiple other geographies around the world. This kind of reaffirmed my belief that whenever you think out of the box, whenever you call checkmate, you break a glass ceiling that was earlier unheard of, you break an industry norm that nobody was earlier thinking about, and you create a new reality, not just for yourself, but for everybody else involved. That's how I just kept doing multiple projects that were all the first of their kind in Baksh Foundation and Baksh Energy, from the first solar ATM to the first solar milk chiller to the first solar IPP of Pakistan, where nobody had heard that Pakistan would be a country that would start working on solar power generation. We started working on that. And with every step we took, with every glass ceiling we broke, with every new industry we launched, we kept on evolving. I kept on evolving. My whole companies kept on evolving, and the impact kept on evolving. And then obviously, once you're focused, once you're headstrong in the direction you want to take, the awards keep following you, the prestige keeps following you, the fame keeps following you, which eventually, after about being the CEO of these two companies for 10 years, took me to becoming a young CEO, a young female from Pakistan, renowned on the Forbes list of 30 under 30 social entrepreneurs. And this, my friends, is what I call checkmate 2. Because becoming a Forbes 30 under 30 social entrepreneur for Pakistan was not just a pride for myself, was not just a pride for my parents, who I must share this very funny anecdote. When I was looking to apply to international universities, and obviously Warwick University was one of my obvious choices, my father, being a very conservative Pakistani man, was absolutely against the idea. He wanted to get me married off, and he wanted to have a normal life, quote unquote, that a woman in Pakistan must have. And how can I go abroad to do my masters without any male member or a husband associated with me? And with that, he was about to tear apart my acceptance letter from Warwick University that came to my house. Now with that, I think, and making him proud after all these years, and making his young daughter be seen on front covers of magazines and front covers of newspapers as a national sensation, as the fourth Pakistani ever to be on the Forbes 30 under 30 list of social entrepreneur, as the first Pakistani ever to be nominated from the country as a future energy leader, was a matter of immense pride. For me, I think that was my checkmate too, because that kind of brought me on the trajectory that this woman is not just crazy, and she's not just coming up with crazy ideas to change the world all by herself, but she's actually doing something right. Something that the world is now realizing, something that the world is now understanding, and something that the world is now appreciating and acknowledging with these international awards. So when I became a Forbes 30 under 30 social entrepreneur in 2015, followed by the same nomination again for 2016 for Asia, I think that's when I realized that I'm now not just representing Fiza Farhan, but I'm representing the woman of Pakistan, and I need to do something for the woman of Pakistan at large, because I felt that it was just such a proud moment for not just myself, but the entire country, and how so many young girls were now coming up to me on my official Facebook page or on LinkedIn or Twitter, asking me to guide them, asking me that, I inspire them and they're looking up to me, and I need to show them how they can become Fiza Farhan. And I felt responsibility. I felt a sudden burst of enthusiasm to not just do something for myself and for my two companies, but actually do something for the women of Pakistan and the women of the world, And I think that's where my second trajectory evolved, being a young entrepreneur featured in Forbes magazine, becoming a pride for the country, becoming a pride for the parents, and a pride for the women of this country. And that's what kind of led me to my checkmate 3, which is becoming the youngest advisor to the UN Secretary General, Ban Ki-moon, and a member of his high-level panel on women's economic empowerment. Now, this happened in 2016 when all of a sudden I got an email from the UN Secretary General's office saying that the Secretary General is putting up a high-level panel on women's economic empowerment for the first time, and he would like you to be a part of it. And obviously, I agree, because I thought this is going to be a panel for young social entrepreneurs. There will be young entrepreneurs from India, from Bangladesh, from Vietnam, and it'll be a social entrepreneurship kind of experience. And I said yes. To be honest, I was super surprised when I received the list of my other co-panelists. From Christine Lagarde, Managing Director IMF, to Jim Yong, President World Bank, to Ban Ki-moon himself, Executive Director UN Women, Sheikha Lubna, Minister of Tolerance UAE, Justin Greening, International Secretary of State UK, the Managing Director of ILO, the Managing Director of Citibank, the President of Oxfam, global dignitaries, the President of Costa Rica. So global dignitaries and myself at the table of Ban Ki-moon, working very closely together for about a period of 2 years, meeting after every 3 months and determining global policy framework on women's economic empowerment. Now, when I was on that table, I think that was my checkmate 3 moment. I thought to myself that, I initially thought they've done a mistake. I truly thought they've done a mistake, because how can I be on such a panel? How can I sit with global development dignitaries and myself being this young woman from Pakistan? What is happening? And this is when you start realizing that now the universe is working for you. The universe is aligned with you. The universe is bringing these opportunities to you, which you now need to churn out into opportunities for your future, not just for yourself, but for other women around you, but for other human beings around you. And that is exactly that moment in New York, after my meeting at the Secretary General's high-level panel, that I was walking around and thinking to myself that, how have I come here? What dots have connected for me to finally land here? And what must I do now to make use of this opportunity and turn it into the biggest escalation and the climax of my professional career, not just for myself, but for everybody around me? With that thought process, as soon as I came back to Pakistan, I was appointed by the Chief Minister of Punjab, Shehbaz Sharif at that time, as his advisor and a chairperson to his task force on women's empowerment. Again, the youngest on the table. Now, this was just too much for me to handle, and I thought I need to do something right away. I need to do something bigger. I need to do something massive. I need to do something which has impact across different development agendas, across different sectors, not just limited to Pakistan, but around the world. What is it that I can do? And with that thought process, I left my companies in July 2016 and evolved as an independent advisor. So the checkmate happens in your life. The checkmate is that one single event that happens. The process behind it is for you to think how it happened, why has it happened to you, what are you going to do with it now? How are you going to use that event, that situation, that opportunity, and translate it into one of your biggest success? What is it that you will do to create that checkmate into your biggest chess game? And that's what I did. And that's what takes me to my checkmate number 4, becoming another CEO of my own development advisory firm and venturing out there, expanding my wings of horizon as a global independent advisor. And this is what I do till date. I have my own development advisory firm now, which is a partner with Ernst & Young, McKinsey, and Dalberg. And I collaborate and partner with various governments, various UN agencies, various development sector organizations. I collaborate with various private sector organizations, and I create partnerships. I create programmatic interventions. I create policy frameworks on various development agendas. So not just gender, not just climate change, not just SDGs, not just youth, but a realm of development agendas. Of course, climate change and gender are one of my favorites of all times. And the journey is continuous. These checkmates that I've explained, the 4 checkmates, 1 being the youngest CEO of 2 social enterprises in Pakistan in a very male-dominated society, to number 2, becoming an award-winning social entrepreneur, becoming the face of the women and the young girls of Pakistan, getting on the Forbes 30 and the 30 list of social entrepreneurs, to Number three, becoming the youngest advisor to the UN Secretary General, becoming the youngest advisor to the Chief Minister of Punjab. And number four, evolving to bigger and better goals, evolving to tackling bigger problems and finding greater solutions, not just for yourself, not just for your country, but for the world out there. Because now you realize that the problems, the development issues are concerning not just Pakistan, but they're across the world. Challenges, especially women faced, inequality, in economic equality, are around the world. And how can you in your life create a career out of providing solutions to them? And that is the checkmate number four, which is still evolving, I must tell you. A recent example, I was appointed by the Prime Minister of Pakistan on the board of the Diamond Basha Dam project, which is not just Pakistan's, but Asia's largest RCC hydropower project. Again, I was not just the only woman on the table as the board member. I was the only woman in the room, but I was the only woman in the entire building. And that is when I realized to myself again that there is so much work that needs to be done. The journey has just picked up. But now the difference is that I'm not just the only woman in the room that I was when I graduated from Warwick and came back to set up my 2 social enterprises, but I'm the only woman on the table. So now I can call checkmates on that table and make doors, make opportunities, open the doors for so many other women to enter the room. So I feel over these years, while playing chess myself and doing checkmates at every point, while breaking those glass ceilings for myself at every point, I have now come to a level where I can now open doors for other women, where I can now inspire other young women to take up their game of chess in their own hands, to call checkmate themselves. And with every glass ceiling they break, they become stronger. With every glass ceiling they break, they make more room for other girls to follow. So I think in the end, I would like to say that my journey is still evolving. I am still growing. I'm still going to keep exploring every opportunity that I get to call checkmate. Every opportunity that I get to break that glass ceiling and go out from there. Because I have realized over these years that when you keep your gender aside, when you keep your age aside, being a woman becomes more of a strength rather than a weakness. And then once you've kept the age and gender aside and worked on yourself as a professional and looking eye to other professionals, you're sitting on that table, being a woman is actually your strength. So my message to all of you young ladies out there, young women, young ladies, beautiful young ladies out there, is to be proud of who you are and is to realize the fact that being a woman is more of a strength rather than a weakness. Only if you know how to realize it and only if you know how to evolve your maximum potential.